Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And music.
Yeah, I suppose.
Tyler plays the violin.
I wish I played the violin. I play the violin poorly.
Welcome to our Check It Out series, where we showcase various games to you in hopes of inspiring you
to go out and try them.
Exactly. Today we're talking about an upcoming release that's not out yet, but it will be out soon. And that is...
Come Together.
Oh, there you can go right now, but you didn't say right now.
No, that's copyright.
Ah. Well, Come Together is designed by Vegard Eliassen Stillerud, Eilif Svensson, and Åsmund Svensson, and published by the wonderful Chilifox Games. This is their third game following Doodle Dash and Riverside. All very different games.
Both games we quite enjoy thoroughly.
Yeah. This one has a 3 spicy rating, 3 hot peppers.
3 chili.
What do you think that means?
3 Chilifox. That it's heavier?
It is a little bit heavier. It's a bit of an evolved game. So this game is a worker placement game in which you're trying to build the best music festival.
Host the best music festival.
You can build the stage.
Maybe.
And then get the artists. You gotta hammer the stage so people can go on. It's the 60s.
I guess so, yeah.
Stages don't just appear on blocks like they do nowadays.
Yeah, but you don't just build a stage and then hope it happens. You have to host a...
You have to publicity, increase your radio,
exactly,
your television,
and
newspaper,
bring upcomers and stars.
Oh, so many stars. Well, let's give you a quick overview of how to play the game. As always, you'll begin by setting up. You'll place the main board at the center of the table, and then shuffle and deal the round 1 tiles in each of the corresponding spaces. You'll then prepare the cards, dealing out the stage cards, camp cards, star cards, and audience cards. You'll prepare the newspaper tiles, and then set aside all the components needed for the game, including meeples, flower power tokens, stage upgrade tokens, and the round end card in the common supply. Each player will receive 2 scoring markers, 10 workers, and 1 activation token, as well as a festival board, 4 publicity markers, 1 starting stage card, 1 random starting camp card, and 5 random cards from the planning deck. You'll finish setup by gaining your starting components based on your player count, and now you're ready to play. Come Together is played over 3 rounds, which are festival days. The goal of the game is to score the most points. You'll do this by gaining publicity before the concerts in a variety of ways, and bringing in the right audience for your artists. Now, this game is a worker placement game, but it comes with a twist. When placing workers, you don't immediately gain the card that you've claimed. You must wait until a player activates that location. But we'll learn about that shortly. Now let's go over how to play the game. On your turn, you'll take one of the 3 actions: placing workers, activating a location, or taking back workers. Now, when placing workers, you'll look at your festival board and see how many you have, and then take 1 to 3 workers and place them on any 1 vacant location space. From now on, the stack of workers will be referred to as the crew. You'll then gain the location bonus if that location has one. This can include increasing your publicity, getting a meeple, or many more, which can be found in the appendix of the rulebook. Now, the second action you can take is to activate the location. You'll place your activation token to the right of the countdown marker and immediately gain the bonus shown on the space. You'll choose one of the 4 locations to activate and then gain cards and publicity. Every player who has a crew within that location will get to do this. You'll first take the card in the slot above each of your crews in that location. Now, for that card, you'll either activate it or place it in your planning display to the left of your festival board. You'll then advance your publicity markers up to a number of steps equal to the number of occupied spaces in this location of yours and your opponent's. So if there's 3 crews occupying this location, you'll get to move 3 steps in either of the spaces. And you can split your movements between the 2 tracks, moving 2 on one and say 1 on the other. Now, if you have a flower power token, you can also discard one to move 1 additional step. Lastly, you'll clean up. You'll send the crews to the buses, you'll discard in your remaining cards and refill it with 4 new cards, and advance the countdown marker 1 step to the right and return your activation token to your play area. Now, the last action you can take is taking back workers. Now when you take back workers, you'll take back the stack of workers from your bus area and put them onto your festival board. And you can do one and only one of the following. You can gain an additional worker from the reserved worker space, increasing your number of active workers by 1. Or you can discard an active worker and take a full place workers action, so take an additional first action. But this means your number of active workers is reduced by 1. Or you can draw 3 cards from either the stage, star, camp, or audience deck, choosing one to place up face up in your planning display and discard the other 2. Now the end of the round is triggered when a player places their activation token on the rightmost space of the activation track. When this happens, you'll do the following. First, you'll take claimed cards. For each remaining crew on all other locations, the respective player will take the cards in the slot above it, activating it or placing it in their planning display as normal. You'll then score the newspaper. Each player simultaneously resolves the following step. You'll check to see which level your publicity marker has reached on the white track. This is your newspaper scoring level. You'll take any bonuses or penalties for the scoring level as shown on the newspaper tile. For example, this can be moving on another publicity track. You'll then score points by multiplying the shown number of points for the scoring level with the multiplier at the bottom left of the newspaper tile. After every player has scored, you'll return the scored newspaper tile to the box and continue to the next step, which is the festival scoring. This is where the real festival starts. Your artists will play concerts in front of cheering crowds. All players will score their artists simultaneously. Now each artist card above the stage card may be scored, provided that the following criteria are met. You must have all meeples shown on the applicable artist card, and if you have a star card requiring 4 meeples, you must have a stage upgrade token, an extra ticket space on the stage space below the adjacent stage card. Now if both the criteria are met, you'll move the required meeples from your camp section onto the stage card, placing 1 meeple on each of the ticket spaces. Now each artist card is scored as follows. You'll get card points, so each star card that requires 4 meeples scores 4 additional card points. You'll then score stage points. So these are 1 or 2 depending on the stage and the meeple of the specified color. And last but not least, you'll score publicity points. Now up-and-comer cards will score points equal to the highest points you've reached in the radio publicity track, while star cards will score points equal to the highest you've reached on the television publicity track. You'll repeat this process for all artist cards you can and want to score this round, and then place the scored cards face down to the deck to the right of your festival board. Now after you've scored the cards, you'll move all the meeples from your stage back to your camp. The next step is to discard meeples and camp cards down to your limit. Now according to where you are in the festival magazine publicity, you'll have to discard down a certain amount of cards and meeples in the camp area. And now you're ready to set up for the next round. All crews and locations are stacked on the buses. You'll discard all the cards from the 4 locations and randomly distribute 4 new cards, as well as 4 new location tiles, round 2 or potentially round 3 piles. And then you'll reset each player's white publicity marker by moving it to the leftmost space on the rightmost track. You'll reset the countdown marker and now you're ready to play again. Now you'll notice location tiles change from round to round, increasing the benefits of some of the locations. In the last round, you're even able to put on a concert before the end of the round to score some additional points. Now the end of the game is triggered at the end of the 3rd round. After you've done the scoring, you'll do 2 additional scoring: meeples and booths. The player with the most remaining meeples in their camp cards will gain 4 points, while the player with the fewest will lose 4. And you're able to score your booths. Now, a completed booth is comprised of 2 matching half booths of 2 adjacent stage cards, or a stage upgrade tile token if you use it to complete a water booth. You'll tally up the points and the player with the most wins. Will your music festival draw the largest crowd? And will everyone go, woo, woo, yeah.
Alright, let's dive right into it with comparables.
What does it compare to?
Honeybuzz. Honeybuzz. The only reason I say this is because of the way that the workers are placed. So it's kind of similar in that sense where Honeybuzz you have to be able to place like workers plus however many workers are already there to be able to use the actions. Now actions are locked up in Honeybuzz, but or not locked up in Honeybuzz, but they are locked up and come together until somebody activates that row, and you just have to place the number of workers onto the appropriate spaces. But when it comes to refreshing, you take all of your workers back and you get to be able to use them again, and I think that's really neat. And it's like this little builder that keeps on going and keeps on and keeps on keeping on without like providing too much structure to rounds. So I think that's why Come Together and Honeybuzz kind of fit in the same category for me.
I think that's a good example because I was also thinking of the beeples, how they come back.
Yeah.
So that jumped to my mind as well. My comparable is viticulture.
Ooh, another worker placement.
So there's two reasons it's a comparable for me. Number one is viticulture has a lot of parts that are interconnected. You need to have the grapes, you need to make them into, there's a lot of like steps. And I feel like this is very similar where you have to get the cams so your meeples can come, you have to get the meeples to come, you have to get an artist that suits the music taste, and then it's kind of all flowing together.
The newspaper has to be like at a certain level for you to score the bonus. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the second part of that is the fact...
The wines?
The wines.
The wines. I knew it.
The wines is the second part, is because they're very similar to
meeples,
the way the artists work, is they require a certain amount of workers, where the wines require a certain amount of wine to get fulfilled. So it's a little bit similar in that sense, but it gives me a lot of those type of vibes. And the more that they think about it, the more they're connected. So I think it's a really good comparable. If you really like viticulture, Come Together is definitely going to be up your alley.
Sounds like two solid comparables.
That's some pretty good comparables. But what are some of the other reasons that you should check together, Come Together out?
That you should come together out. With
Come together,
people.
check out together, in music together, come.
Together you should all check out Come Together.
Come together.
I mean, the obvious, that is exactly a reason why we mentioned the other games, is because it's a worker placement. We over here love worker placements, so if you're a big fan of worker placements, this is like a nice little veer off that most commonly known worker placement mechanic, and I think it does like a good little spin to it. Adds some refreshment to it. I think I really enjoy. So if that's something you're keen on or looking for in a worker placement game, Come Together is probably one that's worth checking out.
I definitely agree. There's that tug and pull of like the way that the locations get activated is sometimes you don't really want to go to this location, but there's so many people there that you're gonna lose out on publicity if you don't get there soon because someone's gonna activate it. So you really have to balance out your thoughts and, do I really want to get this card in the future, or do I want to jump in where everybody is, join the party, go over there, get some publicity, and then go for what I need to go. And that intricate balance plays a really interesting element in this game.
Yep, 100%. And I think like what's interesting with that too is that you've got to make like these key decisions throughout this whole game, because the pace of the game is really determined by the players that you're playing with. Now, obviously there's like better reason to make sure that you're capitalizing on a larger worker area, but that doesn't stop you from being like, okay, well, I should just activate this. So
just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Because that can get a little bit ahead.
Yeah, or maybe, it gets you ahead and puts somebody else behind. So.
That's true. I think another reason you should check out this game is obviously the theme of it. It's very unique. I don't think I've seen a music festival in a board game before.
Yeah.
But the way that it flows together is so nice too. Because first of all, you're working on publicity. Not only do you have a bunch of artists, you're trying to make sure that people know to come to your concert.
Yes.
Because you know what? Beyonce can come and perform in our backyard, but no one's going to show up if they don't know. People will probably show up anyway, because it's Beyonce.
People would know.
But the more the publicity that you'll have, the more people that will come and the more points that you will score, which is really reflective in this game, which I really like.
Yeah, well, and then like on top of that, like it's for those of you who have ever been to a music festival, especially like as a teenager or as like a young adult, like it is very much, you go, you find a spot, you set up a tent, and then you just enjoy all the music as best as you can, and you go to the stuff that you want to go to. And that really flows into the game where you've got to be able to set up your tents. You also have to be aware of the capacity of the meeples that you can have there. And,
too busy.
Yeah, exactly. And the tents that you're allowed there, and all of these things just kind of like stack up to add to the flow of the game And I think it, like Ilya said, it runs really smoothly, and the theme really does shine when it comes to
it really tries to emulate that Woodstock 60, 75,
yeah.
which is really fun. I guess the last thing I'll say before we go into why shouldn't you check it out is the mechanical flow in this game is also very nice.
Yeah, like the pace.
The pace,
kind of,
it makes sense that you should get this before you get this, and you kind of begin like almost like a flow chart of how everything interconnects.
Yeah.
In the rulebook as well, there's a really cool element where it's like it explains how all the cards interconnect, which is really interesting because it kind of helps you really grasp the game really quickly.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Well, and like obviously we could talk about this for a bit, but like the way that they've set aside those phase stacks where like it gets swapped out every time the whole phase has come to an end, like those are really nice because it builds the game up where you can feel almost like your music festival is getting better and better, and then it comes to a point where it's like it's closing time, so let's shut this down with a bang.
Because everyone knows the Sunday show is where it's at. That's the big show.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Saturday.
Sometimes, most of the times, I would say it's probably Saturday.
I thought they leave the best for last.
No.
They make you wait for it. They don't want you to leave.
I don't know.
I guess you'll have to tell us.
Yeah.
But why shouldn't you check out this game?
I'll go off of the flow thing for a little
Okay.
bit. Kind of to play devil's advocate, I suppose. But with this game in particular, because you're flowing, the game feels like it flows so well through the theme, it is very apparent in this game that you need to be able to get into every single piece of the puzzle.
That's true.
You can't just like throw your eggs into one basket and hope it lands. And I think sometimes people can get really excited about doing that in a game and really just like trying to go for it. But this game, you can't do that.
No.
And if you're not interested in spreading out or diversifying, I guess, like however you want to phrase
for
it.
all of it.
Exactly. Then this one might not be for you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel very good, for example, when you're trying to pick up workers to go in your camps, but you don't have any camp spots to put them.
Yep.
And sure, you can put that card in your planner, but then there's only only so many planner actions that you can take, and it almost feels like a waste of an action. So yeah, there's definitely that planning element that sometimes doesn't work out. Yep. The other thing I'll say for another reason why not to check it out is it has a lot of iconography.
Yeah,
so although once you jump in, it's pretty smooth sailing. Initially, there's a lot of information taken. You have to understand, like, oh, this gives you a worker, but this means that you have to place your worker here. And there's a lot of elements that are, like, the nuances in it in the beginning that can be a bit overwhelming. So if you're looking for a lighter experience, this may not be the game for you either.
Yeah, the game definitely comes, like, with its territory.
3 spicy tails, fox pepper tails, chili foxes.
Chilifoxen.
So overall, what do we think?
3 chili fox.
Stars?
What? No, 3 chili fox. No, I really like this game. I think initially I wasn't too sure about it.
Okay.
And then once I started like seeing the pieces come together, the little engine type thing that like almost happens when you start to build up your camps and your stages, really adds like a layer of complexity to the game that I quite enjoy. And it makes me happy to have been able to play it.
I think I felt the same way. I liked it all right off the bat, but the more that we played it, the more it connected to my soul. And there's just a lot of things in it that are just so clever and makes me want to come back to it. Like this crunchy decision making of where to go, the crunchy decision making of which publicity track to prioritize. Because maybe you have a lot of up and comers and you really want to push that top the radio track.
Yeah, the scoring is...
And so it's very like you're always trying to adapt to what is given to you. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But overall, it's such a good experience. And that's how it works. And the festival, it's going to rain maybe one of the days. And it's not going to be as good.
Yeah,
but the other days, you can just get a bunch of pizza stand to make everybody happy.
That's true. I will say that like, yeah, those like main newspaper headliners or whatever they're called, I think like that like really drives the game. Because you do have to get those. Not getting those is pretty detrimental to... No, like the...
the newspaper, goals, the tiles,
the phase goals or whatever.
They give you quite a lot of points.
They give you a lot of points, and you can't dismiss that as something as just like, oh, I'm okay with not getting them. Especially if you don't move up on that newspaper track, you in most instances, you'll end up losing points. And that's never a good feeling.
I messed up the newspaper track once, and I lost by 2 points. It was 101, 103.
Actually, didn't matter because I messed up the one before that. But
that's okay. The last thing we'll quickly mention too is there's a 2-player mode in this game.
There is, yes.
So the way that the game changes is you have a friend who accompanies you as well. So in certain spaces that you go, cards will be flipped and spaces will either be occupied or activated, which creates a little bit of an element because sometimes you're only one person in space and it's activated.
Actually, it was kind of frustrating at sometimes. I was like, friend, why you do this to me?
The friend is just out there getting those tents and we're here trying to get the performers and they're just not the most conducive. But it creates that element of kind of variation. So it actually, I really like the 2-player experience. Yep. But it shines at 4 players. I think
it was really good at 4,
It's so good at 4 players because there's just so much happening. And I think it actually goes up to 6 players.
I'm looking at it and it's kind of crazy that it goes up to 6 players. I'd be interested to see how it plays at 6, but we played it at 2 and 4, and it was amazing at 4. Yeah, it was still good at 2.
I can't wait to play it at 6 because not a lot of crunchy games play, and
Viticulture does.
Viticulture does too. So great comparison, I guess.
There you go. Yep.
But thank you so much for watching. You can learn more about Come Together at Chilifox's website.
We'll link it down below so you can go ahead and check it out. Like we said, this game is just coming out. Or
I believe it's an Essen
being
release maybe later this year.
Yeah, so keep your eye out for it. And if you want to know more, let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, we would love to chat this game. If there's any questions, if there's any themes or queries that you have.
Yep. Or maybe if you need, if you want to see something more about this video, let us know. That would be fun too. But for our question of the day, we would like to know, what was your first concert or festival that you went to, and what was the highlight of it?
My first one was actually a really good one.
It was?
It was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Elton John.
What? How do you beat that?
I don't think you do. I was pretty young and I don't think I even, this is embarrassing, I didn't know, because this was just me recently coming to Canada, learning English, and I think I was like 14, 15, and I got invited to an Elton John concert that was in Red Deer. It wasn't even in Calgary or Edmonton. It was like in a smaller city.
Oh.
So it was a ton of fun, and all I remember is Elton would play the piano, play his song, and then he would stand up, and then he'd wave in all the directions. So he'd go to one side, wave, go to one side, wave, go to another wave, and go to the last one, wave.
I think that was like something that he did, like when he was touring.
And then sit back at the piano and play the next song.
Yeah.
And that was like the whole thing, but it was amazing. So
I wish I could see him.
Yeah, what was yours?
Way opposite of Elton John. I went to go see this band called, I think they're still making music, but they're called 3 Days Grace.
Okay.
They're a bit like on the punk rock alternative side, and I was like, you know, in my teenage angst, like just got into my teenager years, and it was probably the first concert that I can think of at least that I went to. It was absolutely madness. As a child, I was just like at those types of concerts, there are like mosh pits that go on, which I've heard are really actually like pretty friendly, all things considered. But I was not involved in that whatsoever. But I just remember like looking down, really enjoying the music, and then being like, there's no way as my teenage angst, skinny boned self would ever hop into something like that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, let us know about your first concert experience, or if you haven't gone yet, what would your first concert, what would you want your first concert to be?
That could be fun too, yes.
So, and do that in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed what you saw, you can hit us a subscribe button, a thumb up button. You can also hit that little bell because it tells you when we release new videos to tell you about more exciting games.
Exactly.
And overall, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
And until next time, this is us checking out.
Goodbye.
Bye.